let's get to our tiers of, guys. We put them all in tiers, and then we do the top 10. That's how we do it with the positions. So obviously we have the God tier, you have the upperclassmen here, you have potential studs, and then you're not so boring consistency. Those are your tiers for first base. Kick us off with tier 1, the God tier.
God tier's pretty cut and dry for me. Freddie Freeman, Matt Olson, and Bryce Harper. I'm sorry that you think Matt Olson is a dud, is a upperclassman.
I don't think he's a dud.
Whatever. You we know what you said.
I would just swap out contract year Pete Alonso, and again, East Coast bias. I get it, but contract year Alonso, who dealt with an injury and really derailed his season like for a while there. He came back too early. I saw him the day before he came back. I was at a charity event of his, and he had a cast on. And then the next day, he was out on the field playing, and we're like, wait, he had a cast yesterday. Why is he on the field today? And it's like, oh, he's fine now? No, he wasn't fine. He decided to come back after the minimum stint on the IL, came back early, struggled for a solid 3 weeks because of it. And he's not going to have that this year. So he's not going to miss time. He's not going to have to come back early. He's going to be healthy.
So let me ask you this then. Why move Matt Olson down? Why not? Why wouldn't you want to move Pete Alonso up?
Oh, no. Olson down is because of the other things we talked about earlier. I just wanted to also go on a Pete Alonso rant of why I think he's going to be. Look, I've been at a couple of his charity events. Really sweet guy, whatever, all that. And I think he's going to age poorly. And I think giving him a huge contract that the Mets are going to give him is stupid. But and I think they have to. And this is a whole other thing. I think the Mets have to pay him. They shouldn't pay him now. They should pay him at the end of the year. They shouldn't trade him in the middle of the year, even if they're doing poorly. He's the face of your franchise. This is why you have Steve Cohen now. I think they need to pay him. I think they should pay him. I do think the contract, I don't think he'll live up to the contract, but I think the first couple of years of the contract, he'll be really good. As far as fantasy baseball for 2024, because that's what this show is about right now, I think he's going to have an absolutely absurd season. And that's not bias. He's a quirky guy. He's a weird guy. He loves the Mets, all that stuff. If he gets traded in the middle of the year to a contender, that's even better for fantasy owners. So I think the Mets lineup is actually going to be better than it's been. I think Marte was hurt all year last year. I think he'll be better. I think Nimmo should be a little bit better than he was last year. And obviously McNeil had an awful year last year. He should be better. I think, what's his name? Lindor was talking about how he was playing through an injury last year, which is crazy. Maybe he should be better. Look, I just think the Mets lineup as a whole is going to be better. And I don't think Pete's going to get hurt. And I think in a contract year, he's going to put up similar numbers to what Olson put up last year. Whereas Olson, I think, is going to take a step back to what he's been. This is not me bashing Olson or hating on Olson or overvaluing Pete Alonso. I just think, if these are the two guys, and I'm holding up my hands, and Olson's way up here and Alonso's way down here, I think they'll kind of pass each other like ships in the night, so to speak. And Alonso will end up slightly ahead of Olson.
All right. Well, we'll see. Olson, I've planted my flag. I'm team.
That
Olson.
Was a lot there.
Yeah.
I get it.
That's and your team Alonso. That's fine. That's what it is. We'll come back.
My friends in the group chat, who they call me a closeted Mets fan, and tell them they're wrong. I love the Mets. Look, but
after listening to this, you're just gonna hear that.
I know. Well, luckily my friends are bad friends. They don't listen to the podcast, so I won't get any crap from them. All right, go ahead with the upperclassmen tier. And I can't believe the top guy in this tier is so crazy, because you hate this guy so much. I don't know how you're putting him 4th overall as your first baseman, but go for it anyway.
Yeah, it is the lowly Pete Alonso in this tier.
Crazy.
I should have bumped him down maybe, but yeah, no. Alonso does have the top of upperclassmen tier, along with Vladdy and Bellinger. And I know you're pretty low on Vladdy as well. But yeah, I do have those three in tier 2. Potential studs, tier 3, I have Casas and Torque. I think those are the only two that belong in that tier. And I think they could very easily become upperclassmen or God tier. Each of them, I think they're both phenomenal players.
Where do you see Bellinger signing?
I have no idea. And I have absolutely no idea. And the thing that I just heard the other day that kind of scares me is apparently he's okay going into the season being unsigned.
That's wild. And this is something to me that when is the turn going to happen on Scott Boras? It has to come at some point, right?
Well, the problem though is he's a player's agent. Like, the players love him because he's still.
But at one point, do they turn on him? I get it, but at some point, it's like these guys are behind. These guys aren't getting signed. he obviously, you saw the report that came out today. He doesn't talk to the general
Mhm.
managers. He goes straight to the owners. And a lot of general managers feel undermined by him. And so they don't deal with him. Like, at some point, it's like, this is ridiculous. Every player of his goes to free agency. None of them sign the extension before they hit free agency. And they all keep flocking to him. I don't understand it, because at some point you got to look at him and be like, he's not getting the best for us at some, right?
I I think it depends. I don't think we can tell that answer right now. I think we have to wait to see how some of these signings go, because Snell is his guy, Matt Chapman, Cody Bellinger. We got to see how those signings go, because I think all of them command a pretty high contract. So, yeah, upperclassmen tier 2, Alonso, Vladdy, and Bellinger. Tier 3, Casas and Torque, and then tier 4, I labeled not so boring consistency. Guys who are consistent but still going to give you quite a bit. And I think that is Christian Walker, Josh Naylor, and Yandy Diaz.
And Naylor is not going to lose playing time in when you talked about earlier with I forget who it was. Was it Manzardo who's in Cleveland?
Yeah, so I think Naylor is slotting in. I mean, he's still eligible as a first baseman, but I want to say he's slotted in as right field. Let me
Got
double
it.
check that before we say, because so then, I mean, then at that point you're looking at first base, outfield
And
eligible.
outfield eligible, so that helps him a little bit. I mean, the same with Bellinger, right?
So actually, they actually show him at DH, and they have Ramon
Okay.
Oriano in right field, which is kind of surprising. We will see. But yeah, Manzardo is their first baseman, and then Naylor
Does
DH.
Harper still have outfield eligibility?
I don't think so, because I don't think he
Got
played
it.
at all last year. I don't think he
Right.
played any outfield.
Yep. That makes sense. All right. So if you're giving your overall top 10 list, let's hit it. Top 10. Last time we did 10 to 1. So go for it.
Yeah, so we'll start at 10. I put these guys both on here because I think they're very similar, and I if you took one at 10, I'm not going to blame you, and I want to get both their names in. So I do have Josh Naylor and Yandy Diaz tied at 10th, 11th, whatever you want them to be. Number 9, I have Christian Walker. Number 8, Spencer Torkelson. Number 7, Tristan Casas. Number 6, Cody Bellinger. Number 5, Vladdy Guerrero Jr. Number 4, the horrible, atrocious, no good, very bad Pete Alonso. Number 3, Bryce Harper. Number 2, the amazing, wonderful magician guy, Matt Olson. And then number 1, we didn't talk about him at all, but he deserves some love, Freddie Freeman. Like, one of the greatest hitters of our generation, and just consistently doing it, hitting 330, like one of the best lineups in baseball. Give Freddie Freeman his flowers. He deserves that number 1 ranking.
Yeah, and Freddie Freeman, I mean, if you took him second overall in your fantasy draft, no one would blink. Like, everyone would be like, yeah, that makes sense. You know, he's that good of a player. And yeah, you're right, because I thought this was one of the more thorough episodes we've done covering this position. And we didn't talk about the best guy only because it's like almost boring with Freddie Freeman. He's that freaking good. Like, he's that much better than anyone else. He's so good. He's in the best lineup in baseball. You know, he's going to get on base a ton. You know, he's going to have the production with RBIs and runs. He's going to hit home runs. The dude is everything you could possibly ask for, and he's the model of consistency. He's been that his whole career, so I don't expect that to change any time. Vlad Guerrero Jr., up and down, not really. People love him, and then they hate him. I obviously have the bias with, you know, being a Yankee fan. I think he's overrated. You have him at number 5. Give me a minute on Vlad. What do you expect from him this year?
I expect Vlad. So I think he got a little unlucky last year. I think he's a great hitter. I think it was, I mean, I don't know what was, I think there was some water weirdness in Toronto. Everyone kind of played well, but not to where the level that we would expect them to normally play. Like Bo Bichette is another one. Like, he had a quote down season. He still had a phenomenal season, but I think the same goes for Vlad Jr. And I wanted to pull up his numbers too. I don't have them up right now, but 2 seconds, and here they are. I mean, if a down year for him is 26 home runs and 94 RBIs, I'm gonna take it. He has,
I'll take it. It's pretty good.
270 batting average. He only strikes out 15% of the time. And another good thing that I love is he plays every day. He's played at least 156 games last 3 years. So he's gonna play. He's gonna get close to, I think he'll at least get about 90 runs this year, and then probably around 100 RBIs again. It's just I think people expected him to light the world on fire in like he did when he hit, 48 home runs in 2021. I just don't think that is the case, but I think 30 home runs and 100 plus RBIs is not well within the cards, but I think that's probably the expectation I have for him.
All right. Any last notes on first base as we wrap up today's episode?
I think just first base has a lot of good value across the board. There are some question marks, which we covered. Like, Paul Goldschmidt, I think, is a big question mark. We'll see where he ends up. There's some guys that have something to prove, right? Bellinger is another one that depends on where he lands, right? That's another question mark. He could end up on a really bad team. He could end up on a really good team. We don't really know. So I just want to say, if you're picking a guy that has a question mark, make sure you're at least getting a good value on him. Like, if you really love Paul Goldschmidt, don't take him at his price. But if he falls 15, 20 picks or a couple rounds and you want to take him, that's fine. Just make sure that you mitigate your risk elsewhere, right? So just being balanced with your draft, which is what I'll preach throughout all of these episodes. It's very important to be balanced and, again, win the league on the waiver wire, be very vigilant in trades and knowing what your team needs and stuff like that. So I think that's where you win leagues. If you're drafting, I want to be safe. I want to have a good floor and potential for more.
What do you think of guys drafting ahead of those March 20th overseas games, specialty games, whatever, where there's 2 games and there's like 10 days off before the actual season starts? Are you drafting before those games? Are we drafting before those games? I didn't even ask you. Like, to me, it doesn't make any sense. Like, draft after the games. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll be. So I don't know if you actually read the rules on this one. Sorry. We actually do a slow draft in our league, and I don't know if you've ever done a slow draft or if you even know what a slow draft is, but
No,
essentially,
please enlighten me.
Yeah. So, and this is how I prefer to do fantasy baseball, because I think it's just it allows for people to be more involved, and you don't end up with like 2 teams that are auto drafted, because that just always seems to happen, right? And so, essentially, in a slow draft is each person has like 4 hours to pick. That's like their time limit. And typically, they don't take 4 hours, but, we start the draft and it'll take maybe a week or 2, depending on how fast people are going. And, you make like a couple picks a day, you put people on your queue. And yeah, so that's the slow draft, is essentially like you kind of pick at your leisure. Maybe you can take your time and think about,
I'm going to ruin some people's draft by drafting at 2:00 in the morning when I'm working an overnight. And then they're going to wake up at 6:00 in the morning and their turn's going to have passed.
Nope. There's a sleeping time. So 8 p.m. between 8 p.m. and 8 a.m. I think, or something like that. There's like
so I'm definitely
going to
get screwed on this draft because that's when I sleep. God.
We'll have to. That's a good point. Maybe we can adjust that. We'll adjust or something, or we'll figure something out, because
I'll let you auto draft for me. I'll give you my login unless you sabotage me.
I'm giving you Matt Olson. First pick.
I'll take Matt Olson. I love Matt Olson. All right. We got to wrap this up. But until next time, everyone, please like, subscribe, share the podcast with a friend. We appreciate you for listening. If you do, you are a friend. And if you don't, you are a bad friend.